and welcome to the info session for round 2 of the City of Providence's Early Learning Infrastructure Support Program. We hope this training session gives a helpful overview on the grant and application process, including updates from previous rounds of funding, as there have been a couple of changes. We encourage everyone to also explore the RICCELF website, where there are also written instructions for the City of Providence in facilities improvement grants, along with some additional information and resources for early learning and childcare providers. My name is Kayla Aruda, Program Assistant here at LISC Rhode Island, and I am joined here by our Senior Program Officer, Erin Cox. Also on the team, who you may communicate with through this grant application process or a technical assistance request, we have Pauline Bellavance, Deanna Bruno, Claudia Rodriguez Arieta, and Nati Tavares. During this presentation, we will review details of the grant program, including eligibility and priority criteria, share some considerations when choosing your project, review the requirements of this grant program, do a short walkthrough of the online application, discuss how the grant selection process will work, and conclude with sharing some additional resources that are available to you. To start, let's review this year's program. The early care and education programming you provide is an essential factor for family economic stability and the healthy development of children during a critical time of their growth. Thoughtfully planned facility improvements can offer so many benefits. They can result in cost savings over time, support and relief in an already challenging and physically demanding career, and can make goals you have for the children in your care more obtainable. Recognizing this, Providence has dedicated another pool of funds, over $1.5 million for grants, to offset the costs of facility planning, repair, and renovation. In round 2, we have $95,000 remaining for continued capital improvements. Please be aware that this is through a different source than past years. As LISC is a pass-through grant administrator, we must pass down the federal rules and regulations of this ARPA funding source to our grantees. We will note a few of these differences and requirements along the way, but please be sure to read through the information and instruction documents before you dive into the grant application. That $95,000 is available to licensed providers in the City of Providence. Licensed providers can include Head Start centers, public school preschools, family child care providers, now available to sole proprietors as well, and state pre-K classrooms. This funding is provided by the City of Providence and Mayor Smiley from the city's local allocation of ARPA dollars. Later in this presentation, and fully detailed in the application instructions, is a chart of the small capital improvements for approved uses of the funds. This menu lists a variety of modest renovations or purchases that address issues of licensing compliance, health and safety, and quality improvement relating to physical space. This grant fund will be an advanced-based program, meaning that once all disbursement conditions have been met, primarily completing a documented procurement process, funds will be dispersed for sole use of the approved project. And now we have Erin Cox to discuss some of the eligibility and priority criteria.
Thanks, Kayla. In order to be considered eligible for a facilities improvement grant, programs must be licensed to provide childcare services, be operating in good standing in the state of Rhode Island, are Bright Stars rated and actively working to improve quality rating, are providing services to children with high needs, are located in the city of Providence, and are assigned a UEI or Unique Entity ID through SAM.gov. If you do not currently have a Unique Entity ID, please visit SAM.gov to get one assigned to your business entity. And if you're unsure about whether you meet these eligibility requirements, please don't hesitate to contact us. Once you have determined whether your organization is eligible to apply, it's important to also understand how grant funding can be prioritized. So for organizations meeting those eligibility requirements, our priorities are funding programs currently enrolling substantial numbers of children with high needs, programs proposing to provide some level of matching funding for the project, programs that can demonstrate the capacity to manage the proposed project, and programs that can clearly link their project to compliance with health and safety codes, regulations, and/or quality benchmarks. Continuing on with additional funding priorities, we're also looking for programs that can demonstrate long-term site control, for programs that are seeking grant funds to address the following issues, which are those compliances with regulations, overall building condition, health and safety improvements, playground health and safety improvements, and improving, any of the barriers to program quality or expansion. That completes our overview of funding priorities for the facilities improvement grants. We do encourage all eligible organizations to apply with those priorities in mind, which does bring us to some examples of those funding priorities of those project types. So we're looking to fund projects that have site control, that have a demonstrated commitment to quality, that have a history of investment, that have urgent health and safety concerns that need to be rectified, that have issues impeding regulatory compliance, that are fully baked or ready to go projects, and that are meeting the high needs population. So for projects that we're looking to fund, there are also project types that are not likely to be funded. And those are when there are projects that are actually the landlord's responsibility, that there isn't long-term site control of a space, that there isn't a detailed or approved plan, that the plan doesn't align to best practice, that the space isn't serving low or has no high needs children, that they have a low capacity to manage a project or a grant, that there are other financial or fiscal issues. And also large climbing structures are not required by regulation, are not necessary for best practice and outdoor play, so they will not be funded in this grant process. So let's talk a little bit more about your project. So different from previous grant programs, we are identifying specific improvements that will be eligible for grant use. So I'm going to go through each of those here. If you would like more detail, we also have this list available in the grant instruction sheets, but I will try to provide a few examples for each item. So the first capital improvement that is considered a grant use here is fencing for up to $25,000. And that is intended to create a safe and secure outdoor space meeting licensing regulation. The next one is sunshade awning or installation for up to $1,500 for the purchase of a sunshade, or up to $18,000 for the purchase and installation of a sunshade. That's intended to create a shaded or covered area at the entrance or exit of an outdoor space. The next item is deck replacement or installation, up to $20,000. That's for the repair or the replacement of an existing outdoor deck to be utilized for either outdoor activities or for your entrance and exit. This does not include or allow for the installation of a new deck. The next item is furniture, fixtures, and equipment for classroom furniture. That's for up to $10,000 per classroom or for FCC. That's really intended to furnish or replace childcare specific furniture that's in disrepair. The next item is furniture, fixtures, and equipment for outdoor play for up to $30,000. That is really intended to be used for equipping your outdoor play space with enriching activities that promote gross motor development. That does include, but is not limited to, the purchase of ground level play components like mud kitchens, tunnels, balance beams. It includes riding toys, balls, outdoor sheds for play component storage. But again, to reiterate, this does not include the purchase of any climbing structures. Another grant use that we have is furniture, fixtures, and equipment for outdoor gardening of up to $20,000. So this is used to develop outdoor gardening spaces for children. It can include the purchase of landscaping, garden boxes, soil, plants, rain barrels or rain gardens, and gardening tools, or etc. Some other grant uses also include drainage improvements for up to $20,000. So that is work intended to reduce flooding and improve drainage. That can include things like stormwater management, replacing impervious surfacing with better draining surfacing. That can include rain barrels or installing other vegetation. We also have plumbing renovations for up to $38,000. So that's a health and safety improvement to bathrooms and hand washing areas. So we're talking about replacement of full-size toilets to child-sized toilets, the installation of additional toilets and sinks for use by your children, touchless faucets, maybe outdoor sinks, and includes also the installation and purchase of the sanitizing washer or dryer or a sanitizing dishwasher. Another item or category in this menu is HVAC upgrades for up to $32,000. That's really for the health and safety improvement or replacement and repair to outdated heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems to improve indoor air quality or thermal comfort. There's also electrical upgrades for up to $25,000. These are health and safety improvements to improve unsafe or non-compliant electrical systems. We have environmentally conscious improvements as well for up to $25,000. These are specific green design improvements intended to increase building efficiency and reduce overall carbon footprint. It's included but not limited to improving air sealing around windows, doors, or other areas of air infiltration. It includes installation. It includes, installing low flow plumbing fixtures or incorporating lighting controls. Or even just the purchase of high efficiency light bulbs and HEPA filters. And the last small scale renovation here for up to $75,000, the last capital improvement are those small scale renovations for up to $75,000. And those are improvements that would result in an expansion of childcare slots to meet an immediate health and safety regulation. These are very specific itemized things that kind of were developed based on trends that we see around the state for improvements that are necessary. You can apply for one improvement through this grant program. And again, this grant is time limited. So you may want to think about what makes the most sense for you to accomplish, whether it's hiring a contractor for a small scale renovation or just purchasing furnishings to improve the quality of your space. Of course, we're always available for technical assistance for you to reach out and to ask about what your potential improvement might be and to get some additional guidance on that. So maybe we should, think about how to prioritize that project. So you really do want to focus on the grant priority areas. You want to focus on a documented health and safety issue that you should be addressing. You want to focus on providing documentation if there are facility issues that impact your Bright Stars rating. And you also want to think about what could expand quality program with any necessary renovations. If you are looking for a place to start with identifying what those best practice facility improvements can be, please consider the following questions. Do you see or have any health and safety concerns in your space? How do the children move around your space? And is there anything that's negatively impacting that? And what would make supervision easier or materials more accessible or have routines flow better? A checklist can be a really helpful tool, and we do have some checklists available both for center-based and home-based programs in English and Spanish. Certainly, any documented health and safety issue like a building inspection, a licensing monitoring visit, are a great place to start when thinking about what those funding opportunity or what those funding priorities may be when there are funding opportunities that arise. Having that documentation can really help make your application rise to the top when projects must be prioritized. And again, this is such a limited amount of funding, so I highly, highly recommend that you have that documented health and safety issue that you can address in your application, or that you've gone through one of our checklists to prioritize project improvements that need to be made. Again, the absence of documentation from a regulatory agency or Bright Stars will really make it difficult to have a product that will rise on our priority list, because we really want to address those immediate health and safety issues or quality improvements. And we want to focus on project feasibility. So in thinking about that list of menu items, the ones that may require hiring a contractor or the ones that are just purchase of materials, it's really important that you're thinking about, can the project realistically be completed before November 30th of 2024? And can the project realistically be completed with the funding that you have available to you? Meaning, if you have a grant project and it comes in either over or under budget, we may not be able to support anything that goes beyond the cost of that particular project. So it's really important to have a very good understanding of the cost, and that the funding that you have available to you can actually complete the project. So let's quickly go through some grant requirements. In order to be considered for a grant, you will need to provide certain information. The first is a written estimate of each proposed project, of your proposed menu item project, from either a contractor, a manufacturer, or a product representative. If you are looking to make significant improvements to your space, like adding walls or plumbing or other forms of construction, you might also need to seek out professional design services to develop a plan for the space. And we actually do have some planning dollars that, a grant program that can help with that. So that is not a part of this particular project. But again, if you have a project and you're not sure where to start, just feel free to reach out to us. And again, because of the time frame, if you are looking to seek for an estimate for construction, you just want to make sure that the contractor can complete the project in time as well. If you are eventually selected to receive grant funding, you also have to attempt to seek out 3 bids, and you also have to document your selection process prior to beginning that work. If you are seeking grant funding for services that do require hiring a contractor, you must make sure to let your professionals know that you need to have estimates that are Davis-Bacon Wage Act and Rhode Island General Law compliant. Your contractor will need to pay prevailing wage, and they will have reporting requirements, and that sometimes impacts the estimate or bid. Every professional hired must sign a dated and written agreement for the work to be performed, and this written agreement must contain Davis-Bacon compliance language, which LIST can provide to you. If you don't have a written or signed agreement with Davis-Bacon language, you may not receive grant funding for your capital improvement project. So we want to make sure everyone is clear that this is required with these funds. When you do go to apply, we are going to require that you receive one estimate, and that estimate definitely has to note that there is Davis-Bacon prevailing wage compliance in there in order to be considered an eligible project for review. If you are going to seek one of the menu items that does require selecting a professional contractor, you'll want to do the following. You'll want to visit the Contractors Registration and Licensing Board website to access a list of licensed contractors in Rhode Island. You'll be able to look at a contractor's You'll be able to look contractors up based on a number of criteria, like the type of work that they do and their location. You'll also want to verify if their license is valid or not. Some other things to consider when selecting a contractor are to make sure that they can manage a Davis-Bacon or Rhode Island general law compliant project, that they have experience with projects similar in size and type to yours, that they come with good references, that they're familiar with your local area and building officials and the codes and requirements that come along with that, and that they have the flexibility to perform construction in a way that is least disruptive to your program. For example, not during the hours of operation. If you have we have additional information on our childcare website noted here below at the bottom of this screen as well if you need some more information. If you are awarded a grant, there are a few other requirements that you'll need to consider. We do need some grant documentation that you'll have to maintain, and those are copies of the signed agreements for grant-funded work, which includes invoices, receipts, contracts, canceled checks, bank statements. You'll have financial reports that show revenue and expenditure of the grant funds. You'll have records of those signed financial reports for each disbursement request that certifies the use of the funds and that they're true and accurate, and that you'll have records of your process for hiring professionals for grant-funded work, including obtaining multiple bids with Davis-Bacon compliance and your reasoning for selecting your contractor. If you are awarded a grant, there are a couple of other requirements to consider as well. One is the retention period. Grantees must maintain documentation of all grant-related work and expenditures for a period of 10 years. Again, you do need to complete that documented procurement process for projects that includes seeking those multiple estimates. And you will have some project reporting, which includes providing a monthly written project update, that you allow LISC in the city to visit the project site, and that you comply with requests for additional information regarding project activities as needed. Should you be awarded a grant, these requirements will be included in your written grant agreement that you will sign upon accepting an award. And over now to Kayla to do a brief application walkthrough.
Available for your reference is a full list of all grant questions outlined in the grant instruction document. That document is for reference only, as all applications must be submitted online. Linked here is the online application. Some things you want to consider before starting the application is that it is electronic and it works best in Chrome or Edge web browsers, and that you will have an option to save your application by entering an email and a password. Please keep that email and password safe, though, as we will not be able to retrieve or reset any passwords. Required in the application are several documents that you will need to be uploaded. The first will be an estimate for the work or purchase that includes the Davis-Bacon compliant language. You will also need to upload a cash flow projection or balance sheet, and then a narrative document. Please use the template provided for filling out your narrative document. There is also a fourth section to upload additional documentation to support your application, such as a design plan, licensing or BrightStars documentation, or the LISC checklist noted earlier in this presentation. You must fill out separate applications if you are applying for multiple locations. There is only one application allowed per facility or center. Applications are going to be accepted until Friday, April 12th, 2024. So please be sure to have your application complete and submitted online before that date. Next, we are going to review the selection process. So in addition to meeting your eligibility and priority criteria for the grant, recommendations for funding are also going to be based on the application clarity and completeness, a site assessment prior to the final decision for grant awards, and availability of funding. Next, a brief overview of how applications will be reviewed and awards approved. Applications will be reviewed by the RICCELFF, us at LISC. Site assessments will be conducted. A committee of stakeholders will meet to prioritize projects for funding. City of Providence will look at that prioritization list and approve projects for funding. And then applicants will be notified of the status of their application or award by April 30th. A key point here is making sure that your application meets basic eligibility and is complete. If not, this will hold up the review process and prioritization for funding. We also have some additional resources to share with you. I know that this has been a lot of information, and if you don't feel quite ready to take on a project, we still are available to work with you. Feel free to contact us at whatever stage of your project you are in for technical assistance, and be sure to visit our website for the facility project readiness worksheet, the site evaluation checklists, space planning worksheets, and for additional data on this grant program. Thank you for watching this grant information presentation. If you have any questions about the program or technical assistance we offer, please reach out to us at the email provided.